Hey, what's up, everybody? You're listening to the Tattness podcast. As I'm sure by now you know who I am. I don't need to tell you. Look, man, I've been looking at the stats of my podcast, and you guys, man, I gotta tell you. First of all, because you guys are probably gonna wonder, I am officially Blu-less tonight. It's just me. Blue is off doing whatever Blue does. I'm doing my thing as per usual. And that's just the way it goes. That's the life, man. That's just the way life goes. You know what I mean? Blue has her life. I have mine. And we have our own separate things. And, you know, Blue, honestly, is one of my best friends in the whole wide world, man. And I love it. And, you know, I love that Blue was willing to take on this task and do what it is that we do here and be my producer and kind of show me the ropes on some of this stuff. And now I've learned so damn much that I'm kind of teaching Blue a few things. But Blue has her life, man. I got mine. So, you know, as much as I love the chemistry of having my producer kind of do my thing, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, kind of always here, always do my thing, it just can't be that way sometimes, unfortunately. So sometimes you're stuck with just me, man.
But I don't want that, and you don't want that.
And I'm trying to get some guests on the show and whatnot, and that takes time. But I gotta tell you guys, man, there's some good news that has kind of blown me away in the last couple days that has taken place since you've last heard from me. So I just thought it might be kind of cool to tell you. Officially, we are now on Spotify, my friends, and now iTunes as well, and basically anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. You can find us, Google Play, soon to be Google Podcasts as well. Soon to be iHeartRadio as well. Soon to be Deezer. But other than that, man, any place you can possibly imagine getting your podcast from, you can find me there. I have kind of invaded everything, and it's been a trip, honestly. I gotta keep in mind, man, that you guys don't all know me like I'm used to people knowing who I am.
I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
And, you know, some of you may know me from MMA. Some of you may know me as Tattness Madden, who wrote the book Anti-Socially Awkward, a well-documented list of reasons society needs a punch in the neck. Some of you may know me from Tattness Co., the clothing line. Some of you may not know who I am at all and just stumbled upon this podcast, and that's cool, man. I dig that the most because, you know, it is what it is. And quite frankly, I love everything about doing all this stuff. Like, just taking on, you know, those opportunities and just trying new things. And we don't all succeed, man, at everything. But you guys are so awesome. And I'll be the first to tell you right now, the last thing that I want on my podcast is the sound of a click of a mouse. But bear with me here if you hear it. I'm just trying to get facts here. I'm looking at my stats, at my analytics for my podcast as we speak. And I got to tell you guys, man, I am so grateful for all of you. Like, it's unbelievable. So I want to give a shout out to all of you that just made this so successful. The places that have really responded to this have been unbelievable, and I so appreciate, like, more than you know, dude. I appreciate the support. So let me just look up and list off to you guys who you are. And excuse my mouse, but Mountain View, California. You guys, come on, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Ashburn, Virginia. Thank you so much. San Jose, California. Washington, even. Washington, Virginia, though. Come on, man. Indio, California. Thank you so much. And here is the one that kills me, man. I love this because of my heritage, because of my background, dude. Dublin, Ireland, thank you so much for showing so much love. It is super cool, dude, to know that I have love in Ireland, because you guys may not know this, but in my very not so distant future, I have a fucking trip coming up to Ireland, so it's nice to know I got love out there, man. And hey, if you don't know me from fighting, from MMA, you gotta know by now. I'm 6'5", 265 muscle. I'm kind of hard to miss, but you're gonna know me from seeing my son Madden's name on my forearm when you see me out there. If you recognize me, if you're a fan of my work, if you recognize me, you want to come up and say hello, let me buy you a beer, man. And, come say hello and let's talk, because I love getting to know people that have been so supportive of what I do. And you guys have been killing it, dude. You guys have been so supportive of everything I do, and I love it so much. And even you new people, man, that are just kind of getting to know who I am based off of the podcast. This is awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. I love doing this. This is, at the end of the day, man, people don't get it. I constantly tell people, I'm just a dude with a really cool job, man. Just a human being that happens to have a cool job. So, I wanted to get that out of the way. And just thank you guys so much for the support. Because you guys make this worth doing. I wake up every day and I'm like, let me check the analytics. Let me see how many new listeners there are. Let me see what's going on with the numbers. Just because it's like Christmas, you know what I'm saying? It's so cool to see just how much things have climbed in the last few hours. And you guys do not let me down. And it's so crazy. And I just want you to know I'm so grateful. So I want you guys to reach out to the Tattness, website. Shit, you guys, man, you got me all flustered here.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
It's the website for the podcast, tattnesspodcast@gmail.com. And let me know what you guys do for a living. If you got a business, if you've got a book, a website, clothing line, a band, record coming out, whatever the case may be, hit me up, man. If you want to get on the air, just call me. Hook it up with an email. Let me know you want to be on the show. We'll arrange something. You can give me a call, be on the show, and advertise for free your project that you would like people to be aware of. And it'll be the coolest thing, man, because I could have you on the show. We could get to talking, and you can let people know about your project and let them know why they should be interested, and just put it out there so then it becomes known. And it's just a way for me to say thank you to all of you, give back, and I dig it. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. I really appreciate all this, man. Let's talk about today's topic since we're on the subject. I thought, what better than, down the road we got all the Halloween stuff coming for October. That's gonna be cool. And so I don't want to get into horror movies as much as I would love to. I can't, because I don't want to beat you guys over the head with the same old shit. So then you get sick of it, right? And come October, you're going to be like, we already did this. So October, all of October is going to be Halloween-related things. Horror movies, maybe horror movie reviews, and any stories about the paranormal that you guys may have that you want to send into tattnesspodcast at gmail.com. I will have a few stories of my own. I will have a few stories that I've researched. Got a few stories in the tank, so it's all good. But if you guys have some stories that you want me to talk about, send it to me in an email, or you can call into the show and you can leave a voicemail that allows you to be on the air, where you can tell the story yourself if you so choose. I know a lot of people don't really love being on the air, but if you so choose, that is a possibility. You can call in 902-700-3925. Leave a voicemail with your story. Keep it as short as possible, because I hate for the voicemail to kind of cut you off. But keep it, go in depth, go in detail, but don't make it like a 45-minute thing where it's going to cost you, 14 phone calls to leave parts of voicemails. Just try to, squeeze it into one voicemail if you can. Otherwise, just if you feel more comfortable, just send the email and I will read it myself. And I will credit you if you'd like with your name. You can stay anonymous if you so choose. Let me know and we'll handle that. But in the meantime, I thought, well, since we can't do the Halloween thing and the horror thing, because we all know what time frame the best horror movies come from, I figured we'll skip the horror movies part, but let's talk about the 80s, because who doesn't love the 80s? And, what more fitting time for Blue to do Blue's stuff? Blue has Blue's life. Blue was not born in the 80s, man, in case you didn't know, whereas my dusty old ass was, so she doesn't really have anything to contribute to this subject anyway, and I know a fair share, so let's do this. 1980s. What can you possibly say about the 80s? Like, obviously, when we talk about the 80s, what do we think of? Big-ass hair, ridiculous-looking clothing, and, just the stereotypical shit that we typically feel is so cringy. It's fucking ridiculous. But let's be real, dude. Like, the 80s had some of the coolest shit that you could possibly imagine. I mean, don't fucking try to tell me for 1 second that y'all don't love the Ninja Turtles. And that's when that started. Everybody loves Nintendo. Don't tell me you don't. And then look at 89 even. Just before 1990 kicked the door in and put a kibosh to all the fun. We had Batman, the movie, which was super good in my view. Probably my favorite to this day. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. The year after I was born, I hate to say too fucking much and expose my age, but fuck it, here we are. The year after I was born, we got this little gem called Nightmare on Elm Street. So, I have no complaints. 3 years before I was born, we got Friday the 13th. So, I mean, here we are, dude. Awesome movies. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Look at the cartoons. Look at the cereal we had back then. And, I mean, it's kind of astonishing that we have let them discontinue all the best shit. We had Pac-Man cereal. It was so good. We had Mr. T cereal. Come on, man. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I love Mr. T cereal, but let's be real. If you're familiar with it, you know that I am telling you the fucking truth here when I say Mr. T cereal was Captain Crunch in the shape of the capital letter T. It still tore your mouth up, but it was shaped like a fucking letter. That's the only thing it had going for it, was it tasted like Captain Crunch. So it was kind of a knockoff, but it was still good nonetheless. 1989, we had ice cream cone cereal. You heard me right. Ice cream cone cereal. These chocolate cones in your bowl with these little white balls of like, kind of like corn pops, only like pure white with little chocolate chip speckles on it. Who the fuck could go wrong with that? Come on now. That was so good. Like I said, Pac-Man cereal was really good. It was kind of like Lucky Charms, but with Pac-Man shaped fucking marshmallows and what have you. We had all this great shit, and it was the fucking 80's, dude. Like, we didn't know any different. Like, fuck sugar. We'll eat as much of it as we want. Excess was okay. But since September is basically around the corner, literally a day away. Hell, by the time you get this, you know, it's barely a day away, I'm sure. But why not back to school? And I can't really relate to the 80's when it comes to the back to the school shit. Like, back to school shit for me in the 80's was like, I get a fucking lunchbox that had like He-Man on it or something, and that was about as cool as it gets. I loved He-Man, anything and everything. But like, you know, for me it was about the He-Man lunchbox and the C plus juice boxes. But I mean, I can't relate to much else at that point. 1990's, man, that's where shit really picked up for me. Where I really remember things that were trending at that time. Like, I don't know about you guys, man, but my go-to memories when it comes to fucking 90's, and hell, even the late 80's in this case, is scented markers. Do you guys remember that shit? When, like, I'm not talking about owning them. This was, like, later, 89, I think, was, like, when they came out to the public in a way where teachers owned them, but students never had them. So when the teachers bust those fucking things out and you got the joys of getting to use them, it was a big deal. But in the 90's, we had something else. And I don't know how many of y'all remember this shit, but remember, there's always that one kid, it seemed, in every class. That every classroom seemed to have one. This kid had more money than most. And his parents didn't mind buying him some shit. So there was those big-ass packs. I don't remember the brand. I think it was Laurentian, but don't quote me on that. But that was like the fold-up top. It split into 2 layers. And these fuckers had gold, silver, and copper. And it was like everybody wanted to borrow that shit. Every single fucking kid wanted to borrow that dude's pencil crayons. And he'd usually say some shit to you like, don't press hard. Like it's your first fucking day using pencil or crayons. Are you kidding me, dude? But they were so protective of those, like, go-to pencil crayons because when they busted that shit out, you knew. And, yeah, it was pretty cool, man. Like, they were one of those things you're so stoked to use them. And then there was the fucking troll dolls. Are you serious, dude? Like, they were cool at first until they weren't. And then it was like everybody had one on their desk for some fucking reason. It was like, seriously? And I know I sound bitter like I was the one kid that didn't have, and I didn't have one, but I thought they were fucking stupid. After a while, like they were cool at first because it's like, oh, that's unique, And then everybody had one, and it's just like, okay, that's fucking stupid now. Now I don't like it anymore. But that was another one. But here we go. Fucking 1990s. If you were in elementary school in the 90s, do not try to bullshit me and tell me you did not have some fucking Yikes pencils. Because that was the shit back then. And you know damn well it was. So, everybody, I think, had them. Yikes pencils. And then they came out with the big stupid looking erasers. And then they became like, you know, creating sharpeners and shit like that. And it was like, are you fucking serious? You guys are rocking this till the wheels fall off. But I knew people that would like shave, like they would sharpen the pencil and keep the shavings because they would coil up like a fucking, you know, teepee or something. And they'd be colored because, of course, the wood pencil's like purple or whatever the fuck. And they would do this with every one, so they had this collection of colored fucking shavings. I'm like, are you on crack? Why the fuck do you want a bag full of shavings? What is wrong with you? But people would do it, and it was so weird. But y'all remember those fucking pencils. I know you do. If you don't remember them, Google that shit. Because you know damn well if you see them, you'll remember that shit. Another thing that we had back then in the 90s, fruit snacks, my friend. Come on now. So delicious. Let me just clarify. I don't know about the US and I don't know about Ireland, what you guys had or didn't have, but we love Dunkaroos back out here in Canada. We damn sure love Dunkaroos. Gushers, for some fucking reason we like Gushers, but they were terrible. Fruit roll-up, fruit by the foot was kind of a big one. And we just fucking, you know, it's crazy, man. We did some shit with those. Like, we ate the fuck out of those. We had So Delicious. We had fucking all sorts of fruit snacks, dude. We're going to take a pause for the cause here and get back to the 80s in a bit. I've digressed way too much into the 90s here. But we're going to take a pause for the cause right now, pay some bills, and we'll get back to this in a second. Check out the Tattness podcast on YouTube and subscribe. And also check out the Tattness podcast Facebook page. Give us a like, share that with your friends. And check out the Tattness Co. Facebook page and share that with your friends, man. Check out the shop, all the clothing. There's more to come. And we'll get into more stuff in the near future. I'm still designing some things as we speak. So check us out, man. And thanks again for all your support. Okay, man. Back to the 80s now, because I've gotten way too into this 90s bullshit. It's so easily done because it's what I remember. But the 80s, we had so much going on. In the back-to-school area especially. Like, who didn't have the Batman t-shirt that everybody had because the movie had just come out? Everybody had at least one Bart Simpson shirt because the Simpsons were like the biggest thing ever at that time. And, you know, we all had those kind of common things. A lot of people were collecting the Simpsons trading cards, Nightmare on Elm Street trading cards. Well, it wasn't just specifically Nightmare on Elm Street. It was like horror cards. I forget the name. If you guys remember, you can email tattnesspodcast@gmail.com. Let me know. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I don't remember. But it was like trading cards from different horror movies. But Nightmare on Elm Street was one of the bigger ones. And, yeah, the 80s, dude. We had so much cool shit. Do you guys remember, I don't know, in other countries, like, I really don't know what you guys had, but for school, we had hot dog day, we had hamburger day, we had pizza day. It was cool, man. We had KFC day at one point in my elementary school, which is super sick. You know, stupid shit like that you get so excited about. And here's a little known fact for you guys, because it seems like who I mentioned this to, whether or not they're aware of it, is very hit or miss, because it was short-lived and it's hard to find on the internet. But it's out there. But back in the day, in the 80s, fruit roll-ups had pudding roll-ups. And they were butterscotch flavor and chocolate.
The cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
And then they just kind of disappeared. And as it turns out, from what I hear, I don't know how true it is, but I hear that Betty Crocker has been so disappointed in the failure of those roll-ups that, like, the sales were apparently so bad that they're trying to do away with any evidence that they ever existed, and that's why it's kind of hard to find them on the internet. They're a little more predominant now, you could find them, but more in recent years because people have been sharing the shit out of that, but they've been trying to hide it pretty good. And it's pretty crazy, man. But they were so delicious. I don't know how the hell the sales were bad, but it is what it is, right? Maybe parents being a little more health conscious. I don't know. It's not fruit, it's pudding. Fuck that. You're not getting it? I don't know.
Shut the fuck up, fat man. This ain't none of your goddamn business.
In the 80s, we had all sorts of great shit, man. And I don't know about y'all, where you come from, but I know that the most familiar smell to me in the 80s was a mixture of cigarette smoke and hairspray, because everybody had big-ass hair, and you could actually walk around the malls out in Canada smoking a cigarette. Most restaurants, I think just about anywhere and everywhere, had smoking sections, non-smoking sections. You could walk around the mall smoking. It didn't matter. Nobody cared. It was just commonplace, right? So that it's kind of my go-to familiar smell is the combination of hairspray and cigarettes, which is kind of hilarious with how hairspray is so damn flammable. But yeah, we had great music back then, man. Guns N' Roses, you know, you had all these awesome bands, and everything was just better. You know, when you spent time with somebody in the 80s, you had their attention. They didn't have their face buried in a fucking cell phone. They paid attention to who they're hanging out with, and I think that's so important. And we just don't get that anymore. I think we've lost sight of that, and it's really sad. We don't know how to, like, communicate anymore besides behind a screen. But the 80s, you know, everything was fun. It was less uptight, and in many ways. And, you know, the cartoons were super cool, and I don't know what you guys watched back in the 80s, but I loved all those cartoons, like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, He-Man. I remember going out for Halloween as Hordak from She-Ra, and it was one of those cheap shit masks that's like sharp plastic with that really shitty elastic string that pulls your fucking hair so bad, and then just like this plastic kind of over costume thing that, like, you put over your clothing. And it was like a smock or something, really. It was just like a plastic fucking bag, essentially, just split at the sides. And with the Hordak design on it to look like his body. It was nothing fucking fancy, that's for sure. But, you know, it was it was the biggest thing to me, dude, because fucking I love those shows. I had all the toys, not all of them, but I did have Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain, which were still to this day, I think, probably one of the coolest play sets ever to ever own, because they were fucking quality, man. They were well made, they were super cool, and it was really easy to get immersed in, like, that mindset and that imagination of, like, you're playing in that He-Man fucking world, right? So I really had fun with that. I wanted the Thundercats playset so bad, and eventually I got it one day, but there was like not a lot to it. It was open, I think, the box, and it was like on clearance because it was open, and I think there's parts missing, I'm not sure, but I got it regardless, and I was pretty fucking happy about it. I wasn't an ungrateful kid, that's for fucking sure. Might have been a pain in the ass, but at least I was grateful. But I remember for Christmas I really wanted the Ghostbusters playset, but never got it. But that year, instead, I got the car, which was really cool. So, you know, that was a fair trade. It was fun to play with. And man, G.I. Joe toys were always cool. Thundercats. I never had any Thundercats toys at all, except for the playset. So maybe that's why it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be, because I had fucking no toys to play with. In terms of the base, it was like, well, who's in it? There's nobody. I have no Thundercats toys. And am I the only one that loved the old school rubber wrestlers, fucking with the ring, the WWF ring with the plastic steel cage that snaps together on the sides of it? Yeah, and then the big ass, I don't know how many inches tall they were, but I think they were like fucking damn near 12 inches or so. And big, thick rubber fucking wrestlers. They were so much fun. They weren't posable in any way. They were just solid rubber, but yet you had a blast with those things. I remember I had a few of them. I never had Hulk Hogan, which was fucking weird because that was my go-to. But I had Coco Beware and my boy George the Animal Steel. And I always knew somebody that had every single fucking one of them. They had like shopping bags full of them, and I was like, man, must be nice. But I remember one Christmas, and this was cool. 1989. It was Christmas Eve at night. We were kind of hanging out, doing that Christmas Eve thing, and there's a knock at my door. And my old man goes and checks the door, and he catches my neighbor running away, and they kind of have this moment of, just laughing, like, I see what you're doing, cool, man, thanks. And so I just hear thanks, and I'm like, who the fuck was that? And, of course, I was told it was Santa, but bullshit. Santa don't come knocking at your fucking door making a spectacle of himself. But it was my Scottish neighbor, Bill, who happened to work for one of the toy companies that manufactured the toys. So he dropped off 2 Batman toys from the movie, and for me for Christmas, because I was about 7 years old, and I thought that was the coolest thing, man. I was going on 7. I was about 6, going on 6.5, going on 7, because my birthday's in January, and this was December, so I was not far off from 7. But, so well beyond 6.5, but whatever. Don't correct my fucking math, man. Don't nitpick. You get what I'm saying, right? But it was super cool. I remember it was the Batman toy from the movie, and Joker's henchman Bob of all fucking toys. Cool to see Bob got his own action figure, but it was a lot of fun, man. I remember the belt pulled out, and you could hook it onto something. And then when you let Batman go, he kind of like zooms back up to the fucking belt with some kind of a string kind of thing. It was cool. So it was a lot of fun, man. And, that was a big deal back then. The movie was such a big deal back then that anything involving that shit was cool. So I had the toys, and, thanks to him, and it was a lot of fun to play with, man. We had so many cool toys back in the 80s. We had micro machines kind of coming out, and there was always a new model of those. They had some that were like, you press down on them and their headlights light up, and we're talking headlights that are like the size of a pinhole. So, you know what I mean? It's fucking not exactly a lot to it, but they lit up, and it's like, how the fuck does that happen? Like, how do you guys do this shit? It was so cool. And I remember back in the 80s, like Nintendo being such a big deal, that who didn't play Mario all the fucking time? Who didn't want to like ignore school and stay home and play fucking Mario all the time? And I remember I had the coolest timing where the week before March break, I ended up getting chicken pox, and I had to stay home from school for a week. And by the time I was ready to go back to school, March break just started, so I was off another fucking week or two. And there's a whole lot of Nintendo in my future at that point. Playing a whole lot of Mario, renting video games, and it was so much fun. And in the 80s, we also had the Super Mario cartoons, which was a blast to watch, and there was a couple variations of it. But they were both great. Of course, my man, Captain Lou Albano, doing the live-action parts, playing Mario, which is super cool. And yeah, we had the Mario fruit snacks that, if you guys remember that, they were awesome. I think everything was better back in the day, man. In the 80s, we had some really good stuff, and all those things, you know, the cartoons were just better. The TV shows, the movies were really good. All the, like, really good horror movies were just kind of starting in the 80s, except for Halloween, which we just missed by, you know, what is it, 78 or something, right? So, but then the later Halloween movies came out in the 80s, so that's cool. And, yeah, we had a blast, dude. Neon colors were fucking such a big deal. And everybody was in love with neon shit. There was neon Oreos where the cream fucking in the middle was different neon colors, and that was so cool. And I don't know why we cared so much about that kind of shit, but neon colors were such a popular thing. You know, fucking, it was good times, dude. Like, we just had a blast. You could be, you know, excessive with everything, and it was kind of the norm, you know what I mean? I don't know about you guys, man, but I grew up watching the old 60s Batman TV show with Adam West, and in the 80s, it was still on TV out here, and I loved it, man. I lived for that shit. So, when the movie came out, it was so different and so dark, and it was so good, and, you gotta keep in mind, man, Beetlejuice had been out and whatever, and like fucking, to me, I don't know what it is, but there's just something about the kind of backgrounds that, you know, fucking, that Tim Burton makes, that he creates, that's just so fucking cool to me. It's such a trip, you know what I'm saying? And, so that was a big deal, and I don't want to alienate people from the 90s that kind of remember the 90s more. So we'll get into the 90s as well, because how could you not? When you think about 1989 and then 1990, like, it was like back-to-back fucking the coolest shit, because if you know, remember, like, you grew up in the 80s and 90s, it was the coolest time because you had Batman in 1989, which was such a big deal. And just as you were coming off the hype of the Batman movie and had not much to get excited about, all of a sudden, you're sitting on your ass. If you're anything like me, I was sitting on the floor eating Domino's pizza, watching TV one night, and all of a sudden, the movie trailer dropped for the Ninja Turtles movie, and I almost lost my shit. I couldn't fucking believe it, and they looked so real to me that I was like, dude, maybe it's not just a cartoon, maybe they do exist. It was such a trip, because I was 7, right? Like, I was a fucking idiot, but, you know, as kids believe in all sorts of shit, it's cool to have an imagination, man, and it made it so, like, exciting for me that, you know, I went to see it in the theaters, honestly. Who didn't, right? Like, who the fuck did not want to go to the theater to see both of them, the first and the second one? So, you know, I mean, because it was hard to get excited about a lot of shit back in the day, because, you know, the 80s had great shit, sure, but I loved He-Man so much. But let's be real, the He-Man movie, fucking terrible. Honestly, it was garbage. I mean, what did it really have to do with the cartoon? You know what I mean? Like, the majority of the characters from the cartoon were not even in it, and there was nothing going on. So we had that disappointment. So Ninja Turtles really stepped it up a notch. Batman certainly stepped it up a notch, and we were not let down at all. There were some amazing movies at the time, and then there's some shit that you knew they were just trying to capitalize on the popularity of the cartoon, and it just did not go well. So, I mean, you had the Ninja Turtles movie come out in 1990, if I'm not mistaken. And it was so fucking good, in my view, that, you know, it was funny to me, in a way. And I hate to say this, because I think it's fantastic, in the sense that I love Domino's, right? But I thought it was really funny. Now, as a businessman, I think it's hilarious that Pizza Hut was promoting the shit out of the Ninja Turtles movie, knowing they love pizza. So, you know, they probably thought, hey man, we're gonna fucking promote the shit out of this movie, and maybe we'll catch ourselves, some free advertising will be product placement in the movie. And then what did Ninja Turtles do? They capitalized, take that fucking promotion for free, and they advertised Domino's. I thought that was so fucking funny. I was like, man, how'd that work out for you, Pizza Hut? Because some of you may remember Pizza Hut was peddling these fucking Ninja Turtle audio tapes, if you remember fucking cassettes, listening to Ninja Turtles sing stupid fucking songs, and I was like, are you kidding me? So they were giving that away when you ordered pizza. So, I had it, personally, but Domino's was my go-to, but we went to Pizza Hut, and ordered from Pizza Hut and got the fucking tape, and just so I would have it. I think that's the only reason why we even ordered from them, because Domino's was always our go-to, because they're fucking great. So shout out to Domino's for being so damn good. That sauce, bro, it's fucking amazing. But then in Ninja Turtles 2, they didn't do product placement at all. They're like, fuck it, we're, shooting this in New York, or at least the setting is supposed to be New York, so we're gonna show local fucking New York joints, so we're not fucking advertising anybody anymore. So, I mean, that was funny to me. And then you had the Ninja Turtles toys that, were so cool. Everybody had a bunch. And once again, go to school with a kid that had fucking shopping bag loads. He had the blimp, he had the van, he had the sewer play set, he had every figure you could fucking imagine. I had a fair share, but I certainly didn't have what this kid had. Shout out to Daryl, if fucking he knows who he is, if he's listening. I can't remember the kid's last name anyway, but he had fucking so many toys, it was unreal. He had all the Ninja Turtles toys. He had so many micro machines. He had fucking anything you could want to play with. He'd bring them to school all the time. And I think we all know a kid like that had fucking everything, right? But, I mean, the 90s, kind of came along. And things changed quite a bit. And, styles changed quite a bit. And let's be real, man. I don't know about where you guys come from, but for us, for the longest time in the early 90s, we got into the bomber jackets, the fucking chain wallets, and Doc Martens was kind of like everybody's go-to. And then that switched up to like Converse and fucking shit like that. But you could tell grunge was kind of taking over at that point. So it was a unique time where nobody looked unique at all. We all wanted the same shit. And then you had people get into like the goth bullshit. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that's great. I love people just kind of doing their thing. But there was people that were faking it so hard because it seemed like the popular shit to do. And it's like, you're not even about that life. Like, you don't even listen to goth bands, dude. You're just trying to fit in. That's why I say it's bullshit in that sense. When it's not sincere, I think anything is bullshit if it's not sincere. If it's not how you're feeling, man. If you're just trending and copying fucking, what's popular at the time, I think that's so fucking, short-sighted and selling yourself short and coming across like a sheep, and I don't like that shit. But there was a lot of that going on at the time. In the 90s, we had a lot of shit that carried over from the 80s, too. I mean, some things got kind of buried in the 80s, but then you had the 90s where The Simpsons just took off more so. Nightmare on Elm Street continued on, and Friday the 13th continued on, and, there's so many things that just carried over that were so successful. I think everybody kind of fucking enjoyed the 90s for the most part, and we can have a sense of humor about ourselves where we laugh at some shit. And you could fucking talk all the bullshit you want about Vanilla Ice and all that crap, but come on, man. At the end of the day, you know fucking well, if you're near my age, you owned that shit. You fucking did, and you know it. Don't lie. Don't fucking front. You own that shit. And he's come full circle. It's not like an embarrassment anymore to fucking say I own that shit, because now the guy's a legend. And, fucking look what he's done for the fucking music industry. Whether you found it to be kind of cringy or not, it doesn't fucking matter. At the time, that shit was bumping, and you fucking know it. So we all owned it. We all had that MC Hammer shit. And, it's good shit, man. It's cool. It's a staple of the 90s, dude. It's something we'll never forget. You didn't just get into the fucking Ninja Turtles 2 movie by being irrelevant, let's be honest, right? So, give the guy a break. I think he's very highly respected now. I think Ice is dope. Like, I think he's a great guy. I don't know him personally, but I mean, from what I see from, his involvement with things and just... He's super cool with everybody, man, and that's cool. So, 90s shit that you may not know now. And who the fuck doesn't know this by now? But I just talked to a guy last night that still did not know this shit. One of my neighbors did not fucking know that the Ninja Turtles cartoon Shredder voice was Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince, James Avery, who I miss. Rest in peace, James. He was a fantastic actor, and he even was the first to say, I don't fancy myself a voice actor by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's so many more people talented, way more talented than myself, but I got the opportunity. I was grateful for the opportunity, and I had a blast doing it. Every day was like a party, and I thought that was really cool. And then it blows my mind to also hear there's still some people that do not know that Super Shredder in Ninja Turtles 2 was actually played by pro wrestler Kevin Nash, who's 7 fucking feet damn near. And I thought, that's fucking cool, man. How do people not know this yet? It's not like he was uncredited, you know what I mean? If you don't follow pro wrestling, if you don't know who Kevin Nash is in that sense... If you've ever seen the, 2004 Punisher movie, he was the Russian in that. If you've ever seen Grandma's Boy, he was the big dude mover, one of the movers out of the two. He was the bigger one eating the fucking chips, and that just kills me every time. I love Kevin Nash, man. And being a big dude myself, I love the... I feel like I got that in common with these tall cats, but fucking this guy is so funny in Grandma's Boy. If you haven't seen that movie, you fucking need to do yourself the favor and check that out, because it's so damn funny. And that's fucking great. And the look on Nash's face when dude says, "You're a hooker."
You're a hooker!
Fucking what the fuck did you just... It was so good as he's eating Buddy's chips in his kitchen. You got to see the movie to understand why that's funny to me. But it's pretty fucking great. It's a stoner movie. If you're not into fucking that kind of humor, do yourself a favor, avoid it, because it's one of those you have to fucking be into stoner humor. That was definitely one of those flicks, man. If you can appreciate that kind of humor, you do yourself the favor if you haven't seen it yet. And for those that don't know, it's an Adam Sandler movie in the sense that he made it, he produced it, but he was not in it. So, it was funny as shit. It's probably one of his better movies, in my view. It's one of those rare gems that I could literally watch 100 times in a week and not get tired of it, and it's never, not funny to me. So, check it out, man. Grandma's Boy is fucking so good, and Kevin Nash is right in the beginning. And so, if you're not familiar with who he is, check that out. You'll fucking get familiar with him. And he's in Magic Mike, apparently, too. 1 and 2. So, check, Nash out, man. He's a big dude. So... He played Super Shredder in fucking Ninja Turtles 2 at the end, and he said it took him a few days to kind of film that. Nothing major. And so, we got these gems with these movies, man, from the 90s that, things kind of, and the cartoon, like the voice actors, you'd be fucking amazed at who some of these people are. And, it's really cool, man. It's really cool to see what people have done in their career and the things that we never noticed, the things that we would have tripped out if we knew it at the time, and then a bunch of years later you find out who did what, you know what I mean? And it's really cool. When you think about it, man, from 89 to 92, we had this great stretch where, 89 you had Batman, and then 1990, you had Ninja Turtles. 1991, you had one of my all-time favorite movies ever, Terminator 2. And then in 1992, shit, we had Wayne's World, we had fucking Batman Returns. You know, like, there's a ton of shit in 92, if you look it up. Fucking what movies came out in 92. There was so much good shit. And, you know, like, fuck, at the end of the day, like, that was a good stretch of fucking movies, man. So the 90s, you can't talk about the fucking 90s without talking about Terminator 2, because I feel like that movie really fucking embodies the 90s, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you've got Schwarzenegger, who was going to be such a big deal in the 90s. You got, in the movie, Guns N' Roses playing quite frequently, and it's on the soundtrack and shit, so it's kind of like, you know, well, fucking not quite frequently, but I mean, at least one predominant part of the fucking movie. And they, you know, even made the music video for the song with fucking, you know, clips of Terminator and Schwarzenegger in it and shit, so it's such a 90s fucking, everything about it has the 90s written all over it today. If you were to go back and watch it, it kind of makes you feel like you're in the 90s again. And I love that so much. I thought that was fucking so cool. So, you know, it's one of my all-time favorite movies ever, and I really dig it. To this day, it still holds up. I'm looking forward to the new Terminator movie. I don't know about you guys, but... And, I don't know, man. I think Terminator Genesis was really good, too, because of it going back to the first one and shit like that, and it just really fucking was a nostalgia trip. It was hard to follow, I'll give you that, and I know some people are going to fucking say that. Oh, and in 92, we had Army of Darkness, by the way. I just don't want to forget that fact. That is one of the best fucking movies I've ever seen. I love Bruce Campbell. Anything he fucking does, to me, is brilliant. So, you know, we had so much good shit. So, I mean, you know, fucking 90s, to me, there's so many, like, movies that are defining of the 90s that if you were to go back and watch it now, it's a fucking nostalgia trip, man. It's going to take you back to the 90s big time. Wayne's World being one of them, of course. You know, Terminator 2, obviously. And 92, we had Encino Man. And, I mean, come on, man. Even if you don't like Pauly Shore, you know that movie was fucking good. It was stupid, but it was good. I still love it. I saw it in the theater back then, and it was so good. I fucking, you know, it was funny, dude. It was a cool concept. I know people are going to fucking email me now and be like, that movie sucked. You're an idiot. Yeah, you take it for what it's worth, dude, and it's not bad at all. If you go into it knowing that they know fucking well this is not going to win an Academy Award, it's not meant to be anything but fucking stupid humor, it's actually pretty good. And Grandma's Boy, to me, is the same thing. It, you know, that I touched on earlier. It's stupid fucking stoner humor. They're not fucking shooting for an Oscar here, man. I feel like people gotta fucking, you know, you guys gotta stop watching shit. Not you guys, but, you know, there's people. Sorry, I fucking, you know, there's people that, I don't want to generalize, but there are fucking people out there that every fucking movie they go see, they have to fucking critique it as if it's on the board for a nod for an Oscar. And it's like, are you kidding me? You just watch the fucking movie, suspend your disbelief, and enjoy yourself, dude. Don't fucking sit there like you work for Yelp and it's a restaurant. It's a fucking movie. It's meant to be unrealistic. It's meant to fucking suspend your disbelief for a while and entertain you. And all of a sudden, everybody's like Siskel and fucking Ebert, and it's so fucking annoying. And, you know, it's just like, fucking, can we not just enjoy things, please? Can we fucking not just enjoy things without people fucking nitpicking at what we dig and calling us fucking everything under the sun because they don't like what we fucking like? It's so stupid to me. It's like such elitist bullshit. Just chill. Let people enjoy stuff, man. Life is so fucking short. And learn to just kind of take it for what it is, man. If you really pay attention to a lot of these movies, they don't take themselves too fucking seriously. And that's what I dig about them, is they have a sense of humor about themselves. They poke fun at themselves. And, you know, people need to lighten the fuck up. But not everybody. I mean, you guys are cool. That's why you listen to this shit. You know this is not exactly going to win any fucking awards anytime soon. And it's not meant to. I mean, dude, I do enough motivational speaking and shit like that and helping people achieve their goals in the fitness industry and other fucking ways, in business, shit like that. And it's great. I love changing lives and shit like that. But, you know, that's that. And then this is this. Like, I want to have a fucking sense of humor. I want to just kind of, you know, help people just laugh. You know, I know, I remember the days of working for somebody else. I remember how bad it sucks. I remember how stressful it can be. So, like, you know, in your work week, man, maybe you just want to listen to some nonsensical shit that you don't have to think about too much, that makes you laugh. And that's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here to do. And in this case, you know, this show may not have been all that fucking off the wall and hysterically funny or whatever the fuck, but it wasn't the intention, man. This was like one of those trips down memory lane and fucking nostalgia trips that we can all get on board with. Every once in a while, we like to think about the good times, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, don't take it too seriously. And this show, I don't need to explain that to you guys, man. You guys fucking know if you've been following this show. There's nothing too serious about it. And it's just meant to be fun. And if you guys are enjoying it and you guys are getting a laugh out of it, then I did my job. You know what I mean? Because that's all this is fucking fun to me. And you guys make it fun because you're reacting, you're responding, you guys are reaching out, you guys are fucking emailing, you guys are commenting and rating things, recommending the show, and I love that so much. I could not be happier. Thank you guys so much. We're going to wrap this up here in a second, but basically the show, I just wanted to do a nostalgia trip, and I wanted to take a minute to just thank you guys for all the support, all the sharing, all the, you know, fucking viewership, because you guys are killing it, dude, and just making it so worth doing. And there's going to be so much nonsensical shit coming down the road that you guys would probably get a laugh at. There's going to be a lot of cool shit for Halloween, because, I mean, any of you horror fans that love horror movies, you're going to love Halloween's, like, October fucking shows, because we're going to get into some of those. Might even do some, like, horror movie reviews, and just some cool shit involving horror shit, whether it's paranormal, horror movies, maybe even the history of Halloween. And it's going to be a blast, dude. I think it's going to be so much fucking fun. So I think if you guys love horror and Halloween, then October is going to be a month that you're really going to dig. And I anticipate viewership probably skyrocketing because we're going to get into some heavy shit. So, thanks again, man, for listening and always being so supportive. You guys are awesome. Shout out to Ireland and Virginia. You guys are fucking definitely, like, eating this shit up and just supporting it like no one's business, showing up on that radar, and I appreciate it. And there's going to be some giveaways down the road, and I'm going to be doing some things to help you guys out, give back, say thanks. So, keep in touch and keep listening. And we'll get on that very soon. So, thanks again, man, for watching this shit, listening to this, whatever. If you're on YouTube, if you're on, you know, the Tattness Podcast YouTube channel, if you're listening on SoundCloud or Stitcher or iTunes or fucking Spotify or wherever, man, whatever, Podbean, whatever you like, we're everywhere, man, and I appreciate you guys supporting this shit. Thank you so much, and keep listening, man, because we're not done. We're just getting started. And as you can tell, we're kind of finding our footing. We're getting a little bit used to this shit and getting a little better each time. And I know it was a little different today because Blue's not here. And, you know, like I said, man, Blue has her life, I have mine. We're not attached at the hip. We're not fucking, you know, we're best friends, but we're not fucking, you know, married. You know what I'm saying? We're best friends. She has her fucking life. I have mine. So, you know, that's my best friend. That's my producer. And we do spend a lot of time together, and that's great. But, you know, we all have our own shit, right? So there's going to be times where it's just me. You're stuck with just me. And I'll try to make it as entertaining as I can. But I'm trying to get some guests on here to make things interesting and get some other outlooks and some views on some things. So keep in touch. Keep watching this shit. Keep emailing. Keep messaging the fucking Facebook page. You guys are so awesome. Keep commenting, reviewing, letting us know where you stand, what you like, what you want to hear more of, what topics you want to hear, and we'll definitely jump on it, man. We want to cater to you guys, and we'll take whatever topic you want. We'll make it as funny as possible and just get a little crazy with it, make it creative. But we'll see you again, man. And in the near future, I'll be posting again another podcast. I initially was going to do once every week, but you guys are just making it such a high demand. I'll hit you every once in a while with something new, and keep checking all different formats, because you might see some bonus stuff on other formats that you don't see on SoundCloud. Who knows? We'll see. Keep you on your toes, you know what I'm saying? So next time we'll be on this shit again and talk about, some more nostalgia trip stuff, some more nonsense, and look forward to the October shows, because we're heading into September, so it's not far off. And we will get to some serious horror movie shit, some serious paranormal, and everything in between. So until next time, man, thanks so much. I'm out.